Hey everybody, this is Justin Turri, offensive coordinator for the University of Michigan men's lacrosse team. I'm going to be joined on this video by Chris Herron, our other offensive assistant. And before we get started, I wanted to thank Coach Chamati and his staff at Richmond for putting this channel together, giving everybody an opportunity to spread the game. Now, today we decided to talk about some offensive skill work in the situation we're currently in, and that's what you can do to improve yourself individually from your backyard with whatever space and tools you have access to. We're going to touch on three of the major skill buckets for an offensive player: stick work, dodging, and scoring, and a drill that we do for each and some of the key points of emphasis and teaching points that we use with our players. The first one of those skill work buckets is stick work, and specifically passing and game-like passing. The easiest way to work on your skills from home is doing something we've all been doing since we started playing, and that's playing wall ball. This routine is meant as a complement to your standard high repetition wall ball routine, and it's focusing on more game-like passes on the move and under pressure. Out of a dodge, throwing the ball forward, rolling away, pull passing across your body, throwing it inside, throwing through. Things that you need to be on the move and need to focus on the footwork in order to do properly. One thing that stays true throughout all of our wall ball routines is whenever we're working a skill with either hand, we're always working on our non-dominant hand 1.5 times the amount we are on our strength. We want to get our guys in the habit of building up a weakness while not forgetting about their strength. So this routine is going to start with our standard 2 hands on the stick, front shoulder facing the wall, just catching and throwing to get ourselves warm. Points of emphasis being getting it in and out of our stick in a half cradle, catching it softly back behind your head, and rocking your body with each catch and throw. As we transition into one hand on the stick, I'm leaving the top hand and dropping the bottom off. I'm really focusing on my wrist snap. I want to keep my stick up above my shoulder and try to simulate as if I was throwing with 2 hands on it. The third skill will work on our 3 release passing, overhand, sidearm, and underhand, starting to develop those different release points that you may have to use under pressure, or if you catch it from that point and have to get it out of your stick quickly. Drills like this will really start to help you develop your hands. Now as we start to get on the move, we're going to start simple with a catch split throw. The focus here being a quick hand exchange that's tight to our body and keeping the stick vertical, getting it back loaded up, and getting it out of our stick in a half cradle. Then we'll move into rolling away and simulating some pressure on our hands where we can't split in front of our body. The key point of emphasis being the order in which we change direction. Our body should change first, our head whips around, and then our hands change out of the roll, so our body is always between our stick and our defender. Our next 2 skills, our forward and our pull pass, are very reliant on our footwork. We're trying to simulate pressure and exchanging the ball out of the dodge, so the most important thing is we turn our hips away from that pressure and run to green space. Hand in hand with that, I'm going to punch my hand away towards that green space and then chase my stick with my feet and exchange the ball accordingly. You'll notice the similarities in the way a quarterback drops away from center with that explosive first step and crossing over and running away from the line. To build off that and to get a little creative, now we're going to step away, and instead of throwing it across our body, we're going to throw it behind our back. This becomes especially useful if I get jumped quickly off a 2-man game or off a quick slide and I know my teammate is pretty open and I just need to get the ball to him with some speed.
Okay, for our midfield development segment, we're going to discuss our 3-step split dodge footwork with an emphasis on just slowing down and focusing on just the 3 steps of the split dodge. So as you can see here in this video clip, our guys are using footwork ladders to get into a loaded stance before they accelerate through the footwork. So we'll use these ladders as part of a progression that places an emphasis on 3 things. So our 3 points of emphasis before these guys start their move is they'll get into this loaded stance here, and then they'll sink their hips, they'll work on getting their pad level low, and then they'll accelerate through the footwork before they decelerate, and then they'll head back to the end of the line and they'll do it again. So we'll also use the ladders as part of a progression before we start any shooting on the run segment, mainly because in every shooting segment that has our midfielders moving their feet, we'll start coming in and out of the 3-step split dodge. So a lot of it will place emphasis on if you're an initiator and initiating drill shooting on the run, or it's a drill that's placing emphasis on just quick dodging footwork on the backside before they shoot on the run. Anything that gets their feet moving, we'll like to start them out of a 3-step split dodge. So We'll set them up in these ladders again to check their proper posture. And one thing that we'll talk about here briefly before we continue discussing these practice segments is the proper posture with your upper body and making sure that athletic stance is correct.
Okay, so continuing three-step split footwork, what we're also looking for in this piece of development is the correct posture with our upper body. So when we put our guys through these drills, we want to make sure they sink their hips to be more explosive out of the move, but we also want to make sure that they're staying tall with their upper body as they get their pad level low. So what I mean by staying tall is not standing up straight, but just keeping their pad level on that correct plane as they start to go through their move. So as we start to roll this tape here, we can see our incorrect posture is going to be right here on the left, because as we start to sink our hips, you'll notice how the upper body starts to lean a little too far forward. The correct posture is going to be right here on the right, because as we start to sink our hips to be a little bit more explosive out of the move, we want to make sure that our upper body stays tall as we get our pad level low.
Okay, so now that we've talked about the proper posture, we can come back to the practice clips here, and we can also discuss our stick protection piece of this three-step split dodge footwork development segment. And one thing that we also like to make sure our guys are doing while they're going through this is making sure that while they're accelerating through their three steps, they're keeping the head of their stick between their shoulders, and they're keeping that ear-chin-ear exchange with their hands as they're going through those three steps. So making sure they're not going too wide as they accelerate through the move. And now you'll see the next clip that we have, a full circle drill, our quarterback running back footwork, where we start out of a three-step split dodge. Okay, so just a drill for the reference that we like to use here at Michigan as well as our running back quarterback footwork, but you'll notice that every guy in these segments here are going through a three-step split dodge before they accelerate, get down the alley, and either go through the running back or the quarterback footwork. So the top of the screen where you can see the blocking dummy where I'm holding it is our guys coming out of that three-step split dodge. They're keeping their pad level low in that running back position, so to speak, but they're also keeping their eyes up, because the point of this drill is as they get to that dummy and they bounce away and square up to the defender, they want to read that blocking dummy and treat it essentially as a defender that could be on their hip, or it's a guy that's approaching them from a slide position. So if the blocking dummy heads towards that underneath position, they want to accelerate over to the top side as they come out of a split, and then make sure they head towards that far pipe so they maintain a downhill position so they get a lot of power on their shot as they shoot overhand to a low and away. The bottom of the screen is our quarterback footwork, again, coming out of that three-step split dodge. Once they get to an area of the field, they're simulating a slide, and as they get to the quarterback footwork, they're getting their upper body tall, they're getting their hands above their shoulders so they can simulate a pass to a follow or maybe a forward look. It's all dependent on where they want to utilize the cell of their eye. So if they're looking for the follow, they'll obviously get their hands up, look back to the follow, maybe towards the middle of the field, or if they're looking for a forward, they'll bounce away and get their eyes towards X, and then as they come out of that square up, they will re-attack towards the goal, and they'll head towards that far pipe with that shot as well. So again, the three-step split footwork is the warm-up with the hurdles, making sure they're in that loaded stance. They will go through this as well as they start to go through any sort of shooting on the run drill.
The last skill bucket we're going to go into is scoring, and specifically shooting on the run. This is one of the harder skills to master, and it becomes a lot more prevalent at the next level because the athletes are bigger, faster, and stronger, and you have less time to set your feet and get shots off. Every offensive player needs to be able to do this, because whether you're coming up the hash, sweeping to the middle, running down the alley, everyone shoots on the run at one time or another. A couple of technique points. First, I want to make sure I'm attacking the goal and turning the corner with my feet, not fading away to the sideline. Secondly, I'm extending my arms way back behind my head and keeping my hands quiet, allowing the ball to settle into my stick. Thirdly, I'm going to fire my outside hip to the far pipe, generating the explosive power I need to get something on my shot. And lastly, as I'm bringing my arms through, I'm going to focus on ripping my front elbow down to my opposite hip pocket. The main decision technique-wise is whether you're going to be taking a jump shot or not, and that's really dictated by the situation on the field and also by knowing yourself. If you're a faster player that can create the separation naturally, or the situation on the field leaves you with separation from your defender, a jump shot's a great option because it allows you to slow yourself down and gather your energy towards the goal, and it also changes your release point, bringing it up pretty high and making it tougher for a goalie to track. Situationally, you can really use a jump shot when you're coming up the hash or you catch a ball on the inside and you're running away from the goal. The same thing is accomplished with both feet on the ground. Here, you're just using the ground contact to generate the force that you're going to work up through your body and push rotationally back to the goal. Regardless of the technique you employ, focus on the 4 points of emphasis we talked about earlier. Turn the corner with your feet, extend your arms back behind your body, fire that outside hip to the far pipe, and rip your front elbow down to that opposite hip pocket. One of the drills we use for individual development we call along the wall scoring. The point of emphasis here is shooting on the run quickly out of a move without allowing yourself to fade or your stick to drop below your shoulder. We want an overhand release, and we want to be finishing, again, back towards the net. Now, the wall can be replaced with any barrier you have at home that's going to prevent you from fading away from the goal. Could be a table, could be a fence, could be another goal. And then we'll make an arced shoot with cones or some other markers that's going to allow you to dodge into your shot and force you to come with an overhand release at the narrowest point of that shoot. So in addition to the overhand release and finishing at the goal that are going to come from the barriers of the drill, we also want to make sure we're getting our shot off within 3 to 5 steps out of our dodge and that we're varying up our initial moves. You can easily adjust the cage to simulate attacking from anywhere on the field. We want to thank everybody for watching. Our emails are below if you have any questions about anything you saw in the video. To everybody that tuned in, stay safe and wishing everyone the best of health during this difficult time.